What's up, everybody? How is everyone doing today? Hello, Abby.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, that's when you say, how are you, John?
Oh, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank
what
you
if I don't
so
care how you're doing?
This is why I have mental health issues right off the bat. So I know I always say we got like an interesting live. I don't want to say that this time because it's actually not really something I kind of want to talk about on public because it's kind of hard to go through and you kind of have to admit a lot of things. But you brought it up and you think it'd be good. And I think so too. And I think it's important that we kind of talk about our mental health more often because we all go through it. Which is like a big thing I kind of noticed when I kind of went through it is how many people are going through the same thing I'm going through.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was scary how many people were like very similar to like what was going on in my life.
Which is also kind of a little comforting.
Yeah. And it was a big realization. It's like, I'm not going through this alone. So, but before we get into that, guys, just a quick notification. If you're new here, we don't generally address the chat. This is more of a podcast. If you have a good question or something like that, we will bring it up and we will talk about it. So if you got something that you think is clever, pop it in there. We will read it out loud. If you want something to be read, you can do that in the super chat. Just drop a super chat, any amount, doesn't matter. It could be a nickel and we will read it out loud. We will save questions for the end. So if you guys have questions or things you want to ask, we will do that on the end. It just kind of makes things more streamlined. And also, if you are new here, if you like what you're seeing, if you want to see more content like this, please remember that you hit the subscribe button, that you hit the like button, that you hit the bell icon, that you drop a comment, that you share it with your grandma and your grandpa and your aunt and your uncle and your dog and everybody. I don't know who just subscribed, but thank you so much. It doesn't show me now all of a sudden, but I get the little
Of course
ding.
it doesn't.
Actually, I think I just did this. That'll pop up now. So it should pop up now for whoever did it. I appreciate you. But I think we should just get started. I think a little backstory is important before we get into what I kind of went through. A lot of like people who follow me know I was going through something, that things were happening, because I was a little bit transparent because I'm like, well, people are expecting me to go live. They're expecting me to answer questions.
Yeah,
and like,
you kind of fell off.
I fell off and I was like, I at least should answer them and kind of tell them what's going on in my life. But backstory about my mental health in general. Before I was a Christian, this isn't my testimony, so this isn't like news. I'm kind of going through my testimony here. So before I was a Christian, I suffered from horrible depression and crippling anxiety, like crippling anxiety. And when I mean like I couldn't get out of my bed in the morning, I couldn't walk out the door. It'd take me on average about 20 minutes of staring at my front door before I could open it and go out. And I think I'm going to go a little bit more into my testimony now than I did before. I think it's kind of like a good time. What do you think? You know it. Do you think it's...
I think that's up to you. That's up to what you want to share.
I don't want to. That's the thing. Yeah, so I was in a bad way before I came to Christ. I was planning on offing myself. Yeah, I was planning to like just get it done. I had a plan set up. I knew what I was going to do. I knew how I was going to do it, and that's the reason I called out to Christ. Is because I needed that like kind of last resort, last bit of help. And it was that like, so the moment was this is like I realized I was in the situation I was in because I put myself there because I wasn't a good person. I was not a good person. I did bad things to bad people, and I did it a lot. And I was very self-centered, and I was very selfish, and I was mad at the world because I was thinking the world put me in this situation, and it gave me that horrible anxiety and depression, and it kind of made me an alcoholic because to get rid of the anxiety, I would drink every night. So I drink a bottle of vodka. I wouldn't say a bottle of vodka a night, but what I would do is I'd get home, open up a bottle of vodka, I'd fill it up and I'd slam another until I was drunk. And then when I was drunk, I kind of wanted to party. Then I would go get high. So it was like this mixture of like, I didn't always do it in that order, but it was this mixture of like going and sitting in my car, getting as stoned as I possibly can. And weed creates anxiety. And then I would go get as drunk as I possibly can until I could sleep. And I was in this constant loop. And I remember like sitting in the shower. Like I know you know this. I'm giving the backstory, but I remember like sitting in the shower and like going through the mental process of thinking what it would feel like to die. so I could overcome the fear of dying. Right. And I'd sit in the shower and be like, this is how I'm going to do it. Right. And this is what it's going to feel like. So I try to go through the feeling of like what it'd feel like for the lights to shut off, because I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. So I thought it was nothing. So the process of like, there's everything and then it's not. There's a big problem with that though. Try to think of nothing.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Let's just get that about there. Yeah. So yeah, it's impossible to think about nothing, right? You always think about, the best I could get was like blackness for a second, for like a millisecond, where there's like no thought in my head, but then the thoughts would come back. So it was a hard thing to do. So I just basically kind of lived through the anxiety of what it'd feel like, of knowing like, this is it. And like, you're coming to the end, and just kind of overcoming that anxiety. Cause I had this fear that if I tried to end myself, that, I would panic and leave. And then everybody would think I was just doing it for attention.
Right.
Which was a bigger fear.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want people to think that I was just looking for attention. I don't know why, but that was a big one. It's like, I'd rather successfully do it or have the fear of everybody looking attention. But here's the part I don't think most people will say, is I wanted to successfully fail.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because that way I could tell people I needed help without them thinking I was looking for attention. And that was something I had to do. Is like, my plan was to put a piece of tubing back of a car, put it in I seen it on movies. I don't know if it actually works. And I was going to do that because I heard it's like a peaceful way to do it. And I was hoping like I would pass out and then somebody would find me before I finished. And that way I could hopefully get the help I actually needed. A big reason for that is because I wasn't silent about my suicidal tendencies before. I told people.
Yeah. And
I never got like help. That was the thing. So I didn't know what to do. So there's one night, and this is this part of my testimony, right? There's one night that I'm in a very low state. We decided our church. I was going to church because I was looking for anything to get me out of what I was in, my mental state. And I was going to church, and the pastor at the church suggested that we do a fast. So I was currently fasting from things, right? And I was failing at these fasts because I couldn't do it, but I was trying to. This night I was specifically really trying to fast, and I was calling out for help. And I realized I said to myself, I'm like, I know my flaws, I know my mistakes, I know what I've done wrong, I know why I'm a bad person, and I need help. And I said, and I remember I specifically said, I said, Jesus, if you help me, I will serve you. And that's when I was overcome with the Holy Spirit. I fell off my couch. I dropped to my floor. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to sit on my floor. Started bawling my eyes out. It was this overwhelming feeling of fear, which is something I don't think a lot of Christians will say, but I was scared shitless, pardon my language. And this overwhelming feeling of love at the same time. So it was like peace and love, but fear. And I don't know how those correlate, but it worked. And it was like being lit on fire. Like my whole body was on fire. And I remember being called to scripture. And people often ask me what my favorite passage is. And this is the reason it's my favorite passage, is because I was called to go read the Bible. And it was a Bible that you guys gave me years ago, right? Because you wanted me to be a Christian, so you dropped off a Bible. And you're like, here you go, have a Bible. I never touched the damn thing. And I went and got the Bible, and I opened it up, and the first thing I read was Isaiah 42, right? Behold my faithful servant, whom I am well pleased. Upon you I put my spirit, right? And that was like, to me, that was like, I couldn't fathom that, because I just said 2 seconds before that, I'm like, God, if you help me, I will serve you. And so I had this overwhelming feeling that overcame me. I opened up the Bible, and it said, behold my faithful servant, who I'm well pleased. I put my spirit upon you. And like, that moment was just, it was unreal. And then it started, right? Then it started with and you were part of this. And actually, I want you to tell, because I came into, because I want to, from your perspective, I came into the gym the next day. And then what happened? You tell me.
You leaned on the desk, and I'm pretty sure you started like pretty normal. Like,
yeah.
How's your day? All of a sudden you go, I think I'm losing my mind. I was like, all right, what's going on? And you were like, I think God spoke to me last night.
Yeah.
And I was very cautious of like, I didn't want to just like assume or jump to like get my hopes up or anything. And I was like, okay, well, tell me more. And then like right at that moment, our boss walked in, and then it was like, well, now we can't talk about this. So then I had to wait the whole night until it was probably like 4 hours until we could finally leave.
I remember being in the gym too, and like seeing you just kind of standing there like this look on your face. For those that are just listening, she was just kind of like upright and just like with her hand on her chin, just like staring at the floor the whole time, not knowing what to say
It's
or
like,
what to do.
The longest 4 hours of my life. What do you say to that? So then I don't know if we went to Subway or what, but you kind of filled me in a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it was pretty like...
You were really skeptical.
Yeah, well, it was pretty like undeniable to me, but I didn't know. I was like, well, what do you think that, like, do you think it's real? And you were kind of like on the fence. You weren't really committed to saying yes or no.
I wasn't convinced that I hadn't had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And that's all it was.
So that's why I was like, I'm not going to be all in if you're not all in.
Yeah.
And then it was the next day when you were like, because I was like, you can't be partially in. Like, if you're either all in with God or you're not in with God. So you kind of got to decide here.
Well, and I remember too, because I was driving the school bus at the time, and like one of the things that really stuck out to me is I was driving the bus and the whole world was just brighter and people were smiling, and like, I don't know if they actually were, but they just seemed like, and I just remember this love I had for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And like this, and I was moving too at the time. I was moving to that small apartment right exactly when this happened. My whole time, it was a little bit after, but so I remember driving the school bus, and I just remember looking at everybody and just feeling like this connection with them, this deep love that I never felt before. Mm-hmm. Like, I just remember they did just kind of like NPCs to me beforehand. And then I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this, and I was like, there's something here. There's something more. And here's the craziest. I could not stop praying. From morning till night. I was in constant prayer. I was cleaning. I was praying. I wasn't like, oh Lord, you're so great, amazing. I was like, why haven't you talked to me in so long? What is going on? Do you actually do this? Does anybody ever ask you how your day is? It's like, these are the things.
I remember that. Yeah. And I remember you being like, what do I call him? How do I address him? And I was like, just, hey, God.
I was calling him Sky Daddy for a while.
Yeah, you were. And then you decided that was disrespectful.
I did. And then I was like, had this big epiphany. I texted you once. I'm like, I'm taking a poop right now and he's in here.
Yeah. I was like, I don't need to know about this.
And here's the thing. There's a whole bunch of more confirmation that came after that, because he was very prominent in our lives. And this is the part that kind of made you believe, because we would pray for things and it would happen. And like part of that is like me coming to Christ. You prayed the night before. You prayed the same night.
I prayed the same night, yeah.
And you prayed that I would come to Christ that night. And so like that was like, okay, coincidence? Maybe, right? Maybe I had a psychotic breakdown the same time that you prayed, possibly.
Maybe. And
then the questions I asked, I'd be like, well, what does this mean about God? And then we go in and the service would be exactly. And guys, most people will think it's like, oh no, you're correlating. It's like, it was slightly referenced and you're making, no.
It was very like, specific.
It was so freaking specific.
We'd get into the car afterwards and like, both of us were a little freaked out.
Yeah. And I remember I asked the pastor, I was like, are you spying on us? Like,
do you have a bug in the car?
Because you're directing things to me exactly what I'm like. We'd be driving there and I'd be asking you questions about God, and we'd go in and our pastor would give the answer. Exactly. And it was just like, and it did this for months. It was insane. And our prayers just like were constantly being answered, yours too. And like, you had like this moment of like, you felt like God was distant from you, and then you prayed, and then we had that event, and then we don't have to go into that, but we had that event, and then you had the pastor answer your prayers, that same thing, gave you direct sermons directly towards that. And it's like, there's just so much things happen. And then the TikTok thing. Yeah. That was wild. Cause I was like, I had this like, this feeling of God. And I was like, I want to share this with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I was like, everybody needs to know. I remember sitting with my coach one night and he's trying to instruct me on jiu-jitsu. And I'm just like, why are you talking to me about jiu-jitsu? God is real. Are you crazy? Are you insane? Who cares about what a freaking triangle choke looks like? You're going to triangle choke God? No. Like, like this is what's going on through my head.
It's pretty mind-boggling.
It was insane. And like, I know from like a skeptic listening to this, they're going to be like, guy was going through a hard time. He's reaching, he's grabbing. And I wish I could explain what the feeling, and it's like, oh, you had a feeling. I wish I could explain it, because it's like trying to explain the color red to somebody who's never seen red before. This feeling, I can't recreate it. Mm-hmm. And this is something we're going to get into, because I haven't had this feeling in a long time right now. Right. But this feeling for this like period of time, for these like first 2 years of me being with Christ, was very prominent and very like in my life, and always in moments that were centered around God. Like it didn't happen in any other scenario. So like maybe my brain's connecting something. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. And there's too many coincidences outside of yourself that it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, you didn't orchestrate that. You didn't orchestrate the sermons. You didn't, it wasn't like you're sending him messages with questions and then he was answering them. Like, he had no idea.
Yeah.
So
It's just too many things, right? And this is where the whole confirmation bias comes in. The idea that you look for things that confirm your bias. And, but it's like I'm asking, hey, what's 2 + 2? And the number 4 fell through my roof. That's how like, confirmation bias. But the feeling I want to talk about that more, because like the feeling of the Holy Spirit indwelling me when he is just, it was always very specific. And like a good example of this is like, I felt the Holy Spirit tell me to tell this girl one time that she had to move on TikTok, because she was talking about it. And I was just like, I didn't say it was from the Holy Spirit. I didn't say it was from God. I didn't do any of those things. I just told her, I'm like, look, I really feel like you have to move. I think you have to prepare for that, and you have to move. And this is from the Holy Spirit. And then she gets on the TikTok next day and she says, well, I didn't have a choice. I lost my house. I have to move. Mm-hmm. So I'm moving. And she was stoked.
Well, and she was conflicted on moving or not.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, God answered.
Yeah.
Now you have to.
Yeah. So like that, and that was 24-hour span from each other. So it's like that feeling correlated to those events. And like, if I'm a self-contained scientist, I have something that is testable and repeatable, but unfortunately I can't give it to any peer reviews because it can't experience what I'm going through. So to kind of push the story forward, we had like this 2 years on TikTok. TikTok blew up out of nowhere, because I was just like, I just want to share the gospel with people. People in my life are kind of getting tired of me pushing it down their throat. So I'm like, I'm just going to go on TikTok and make videos. And it was on a whim. I didn't think it would do anything. I remember saying, I'm like, look, I'm going to do 2 or 3, 4 videos a day. And then I might get like a couple thousand followers in a year or something.
You just wanted to do something.
I just wanted to do something. And then all of a sudden I had 170,000 followers. And then all of a sudden I'm doing these TikTok lives that get 2,000 people in at the time. Mm-hmm. Right now that's changed, and that's fine. It was good for what it was needed for in the time. And if God doesn't desire that anymore, that's cool. He's got something else planned. But it was like 2,000 followers, and we were talking to these people, and then like these crazy people start coming in.
Yeah.
And like a lot of them are just crazy people. Yeah. But I swear I swear to this day, a few of them are demons. And like that one guy.
Freaky. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. That was like, I don't want to call any names here, but he was on, and he was doing some wild stuff. And then that event happened with Bar with the lights changing. Yeah. And we got like people coming in, and it's like, man, I prayed for this and this happened. And like people are coming to Jesus. And then James coming to leaving Islam and coming to Christ. And it's just, there's so much fruit and so much good things. And it wasn't, and this is kind of, we're going to get into the mental breakdown where you'll get a lot more to say here, because you were outside looking in. You and I are dating at this point. Were we engaged?
Yeah.
We were engaged at this point. Yeah. And this is, I rebelled. I decided that I wanted to have one last hurrah, that it'd be okay, that I could go out and party one more night. Right. And just do it. You didn't even
party. You were just trying to sleep.
Kind of like, part of that was I couldn't sleep. And the part of it is I wanted to party, right? I wanted to have that experience again. And so I did. And I did it knowing I was wrong. And because I went to go buy what I usually bought before, and I felt this deep conviction not to do it. And I listened and I left. And then I'm like, that's just my anxiety talking to me, which I wasn't experienced. But by the way, that's part of my testimony I left out. God took away my depression and anxiety, right? It was gone. Like it vanished. I didn't experience it at all for 2 years. Not even a little faint little bit of it. And I didn't listen. I went back again. And I felt this overwhelming feeling telling me not to, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And I did it. I got it and I did it. And it was stupid. And I know it was stupid. It was like one last plan. But unfortunately, and I think originally, and I haven't talked to you about this, originally I thought this was God punishing me. What happened next?
Yes.
I don't think so anymore. I think God was trying to warn me of what would happen. It's like, if you do this, it's not a punishment. It's like, this is what's going to happen. Not because he imposed it on me, but because of who I was now, which is different. And so that kind of created and a lot of people know what happened after this is I had a disassociation, a depersonalization, whatever you want to call it, one of the two, where I completely lost connection with my own body. And I thought it'd be for like a night or something like that, but it started off with me coming to the gym to you, telling you I couldn't feel my feet, right? And you kind of goofily played around, you can't feel it, and you step on my toes, and I'd be like, no, don't do that. And it's like, but to explain like what this felt like is like, it's like my body was on autopilot. I couldn't feel my arms. I couldn't feel my legs. I was in this constant state of panic. It's like I was looking at everything through a fog glass window. It's like nothing existed. The only place where I really felt comfortable is like if I could lay in my bed, have blankets over me, and like watch cartoons or YouTube videos or something like that. I could just like chill and not think about it for a minute. And it was the worst experience I've ever felt in my life. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. And if there is a hell, that was it. Like I really can't explain it. And you didn't fully understand at the start. Cause like, I remember sitting in the car with you and like, I saying to you as I was telling you, I'm like, I need you to not get mad at me for anything, not do anything, not be upset at me, nothing. And I was trying to explain how disconnected I was. And tell me like, cause I actually don't know this. When did it click in for you that I actually was pretty messed up?
It was probably at that time. Because I was mad at you because I was like, because I also told you not to, and I thought you didn't, and then I found out that you did what you did, and I was like, you knew you shouldn't have done that. I told you not to do that, so I was like, it wasn't like I wasn't gonna leave you over it, but I was mad at you. Yeah. So then when you were like, I need you to not be mad at me, it was like. It was so like almost like desperate, I guess. That I was like, I remember I like sent you inside and I was like, deep breaths. I need to let this go now because I need to like forgive you fast because you needed me to. Yeah,
I did. And I did need you. And I don't think I could have gotten through that without you. I really don't. Like, I don't know where I'd be if you weren't there to walk me through that. Cause like, it lasted. It lasted like 2 months.
Well, and it went away
for like a day.
Do you remember that? Because I remember this because it went away for like, it was longer, and then everything was okay. And then we were sitting on the couch one day watching something, and you got really quiet, and you were like, "I can't feel my feet."
Yeah.
I will never forget that because it was just like instant dread of like. We thought like, okay, it finally wore off. It's okay. And it's like, okay, no, this is something worse. Yeah.
It was, it was a very scary time. Cause like, I really couldn't feel it. I knew when something was touching my legs or my hands. My hands weren't so bad. My legs were the worst, but like, I couldn't feel it. Like my brain registered that I was being touched, but I couldn't actually feel the sensation of it. And I remember like sitting, like trying to distract myself. I was trying to play like a video game, and I had like chocolate covered almonds next to me. And I like, remember reached in the bag, and like I knew my hand touched the bag, the sides of the bag, but I couldn't feel it. And I panicked and I pulled my hand out, and like I started crying. A big part of this is like I was always on the edge, and I had to teach. And here's the thing, guys, like anybody listening on the outside, time didn't exist for me. Mm-hmm. So like when I'm telling these stories, it's all over the place. I don't know if it was the start of the event or the end of the event or the middle of the event. Abby's going to have to tell me where it is, because I had no concept of time. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if an hour was passing. I didn't know if 6 hours was passing or 2 days. Like it made no sense to me. But I think it was somewhere in the middle. I remember I was like sitting, and I was going to go like demonstrate to the kids how to do like I think it was a rear naked choke. And I sat and I grabbed your back, because you Abby helps me with the teaching. You guys don't know. And I went to do the naked choke, and I completely forgot where I was. Mm-hmm. I didn't know where I was at all. I didn't know if I was in the gym. I didn't know who the kids were. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know who I was. It was like for 2 seconds maybe, and I came back, but for like a moment I'm like, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
Like,
and I remember that because you were like freaked out afterward, and I was like, it was not that long. Nobody noticed. It's okay. We're okay.
Yeah. And I had to, and this is like trying to get through this while working was the worst. Yeah. And God bless, we have a great boss, and he gave me the time when I didn't need it. Like he came, I remember like when I didn't know what was going on, and I was sitting and like, cause I do the after school program, and I was like sitting with the kids, and I just remember I'm like, I shouldn't be watching kids right now. Mm-hmm. And I called my boss, and he came down, and he took over, and he allowed me to go home and stuff like that. And for the most part, it was worse in my head than it was outside. Like,
yeah, nobody would have noticed outside of people who knew you.
Yeah, most people thought like I was okay, but holy hell, I wasn't. Mm. Like it was bad, and we had like a really bad night. Like I think it was the first time we went to the hospital. Was it the first or second?
Well, give me a little more there. What do you mean?
When you were panicking because of state, I don't want to tell the story first. Right? When I fell over.
Oh, that was the first time.
That was the first time.
Yeah.
So we're going through this. I don't know what's going on. I'm reading everything under the book, under the world, looking at like books and like trying to figure out what the hell I'm going through and what is happening in my life. And I don't remember much from that night, but I remember like talking to you, and I remember I passed out. Or like you because I don't remember.
Yeah, so we had gone out for dinner or a movie, I don't remember what it was, and then I drove you back, and we were in your apartment, and I was getting ready to leave, and then you came out of your room, and you were in the kitchen, and then you like staggered into the fridge, and then like staggered over to your couch, and were like leaning on the couch, and I like grabbed you and like dragged you back to your room and like sat you down, and then you sat down, and then you like started to fall over, so I had to like catch you and hold you up.
I thought I fell on the floor.
You might have sat on the floor, and then I got you to your bed.
I thought it was in the kitchen.
You were in the kitchen, but then I moved you to the bedroom.
Moved me to the bed.
So then like you were not okay, and I was like, we need to take you to the hospital. Like, yeah. I don't know what's going on. You know what's going on. You just fell over. We need to take you. And you were having like heart palpitations and dizziness and all that. So we got you in my car, and then I didn't have gas. So then, and this was after the hurricane.
Oh, so wait, this is after the hurricane?
Yeah.
I thought this was before the hurricane.
No.
I would have told the hurricane story first.
Oh.
See, I don't have a concept of time. See, like I said, we're going to be jumping all over the place because like I had no idea when was what. So keep going.
It was after the hurricane because there was huge lineups for gas because the gas was rationed because trucks couldn't get over to fill up the gas station. So I had to ration the gas, and I had to wait in line, and then I didn't know they didn't have regular gas anymore, and I was like, I don't know if I can use Supreme gas in my car.
I didn't know that.
I like you did because you came and pumped my gas.
I pumped you. No, I didn't. I sat in the car.
No, you didn't.
I pumped your gas?
Yeah. You like gave up. I was like, dear, I don't know what kind of gas to use. And then you like got out of you just gave up and got out of the car and did it for me.
I don't remember that.
You pumped it. I went and paid.
I remember slurring my speech in the car.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was another thing.
Yeah.
Because you were like you were like, maybe I don't need to go. whatever. And I was like, we are going to the hospital. And then you were trying to say something and it made no sense. And you like, your words were slurring. Like it sounded like you were drunk. And I was just like, we're going to the hospital.
Yeah. And so to kind of go through the bit of the hospital story, we get to the hospital and you know, I talked to the nurse, and the nurse, he was a really nice guy. Was it the guy at that time? Yeah.
He was really nice.
Yeah, he was awesome. And he was saying, oh, we don't want to send you out with what's going on. We definitely want to get you in. And they got us in.
No, that was the time we sat in your car and watched Spider-Man.
Okay.
We sat in the car and watched Spider-Man.
So because they said it'd be a while. So we went out to the car, we watched Spider-Man. We came back in. And then we got into the doctor, and this so sucked so much is.
No, we didn't. We went home that time.
Did we?
Yeah.
No, I went to what was the time I seen the doctor?
That was the second time. That was like the awful, awful time.
Maybe you should tell this story. Because I don't.
That was basically, we waited for hours, and I was working at that time. So it was like, I didn't get home until like 3 a.m. But we gave up that night because they were like, we don't know if we will get you in at all. And so we just gave up. I took you home. And then I went home, and then I had to work the next day on like 3 hours of sleep.
I was more messed up than I thought I was.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the hurricane story and then the second hospital story?
Okay. You tell me the time frames, and then I'll tell the story of what I remember, and you fill in the parts of it.
Well, that hospital visit was after the hurricane.
Okay. So we had a hurricane come in, right? And I have a tiny apartment, but it was right on the ocean, and this was going to be the biggest hurricane that we've seen. So I wasn't particularly worried that my house was going to hit by the water, but I also thought most people aren't, and that's when they get sucked out into the water, right? So I was like, you never know, and it was going to be the worst hurricane, so I decided I was just going to go stay at the gym, which is relatively more inland. We're on an island where we live, and so I asked the boss. He says that's fine, and I pack up everything, pack up little Bert, and we go up there. He puked on the way.
I remember that too because I showed up to, I don't know if I was just coming to visit you or what, but I showed up and you were out of it, and then I was like, let's just go, it'll be better there just in case. And then like I remember just throwing stuff in your bag because you were like completely out of it. I was like, you need this, you need this, you need this, you take care of Bert.
You got me all the food and stuff.
I packed up all your food, all that.
Yeah, see, I don't remember that, but I remember the feeling of you packing it for me.
Yeah.
Right. So I get up there. You didn't come with me though.
I didn't stay with you. I helped you take all your stuff there.
Yeah, and then you left.
And then I left.
Our boss was there. He was practicing with some people. He was doing some sparring and stuff. And so we hung out for a little bit, and then they left, and I got to sit and chat with him and go over like what I was going through. I was very open with him because he was my boss. I had to work for him. I wanted him to know that I wasn't healthy working for him, teaching his classes and his kids. And great guy. He was super supportive and helped me through that. And then, he leaves, and I'm in this gym by myself, and this is hell. This is hell because I'm in this state. I can't feel my legs. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what time it is. My memory's all messed up. I could barely walk straight, and there's this I'm all by myself in this big gym, and there's this huge hurricane. All I hear is the wind, and there's no power, and I can hear thrashing outside, and I got no light. I found a little a light in the camera bag that we had there. I found like a little one so I could use it to go to the washroom and stuff. But like for the most part, I'm just sitting there in complete darkness. Like all I could think about is that you'll be cast outside and utter blackness where we'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's all I could think about while I'm going through this. And I'm just sitting here like in this freaked out state. And like, that was the absolute worst. And I remember like getting up the next day and it's daylight and like walking around. I'm trying to get my basis and stuff. And I like go into town to see if my house is okay. And if there's electricity, my house is fine. I remember seeing like, a trailer, like a truck trailer, but with like the walls and the roof on top of a fence, which was wild. I'm like, this is crazy. Like the signs are ripped off, trees are everywhere. Like it was a big hurricane.
It was.
And I get to my house and there's power, and I'm like, sweet, I'll come back. Then I get back and the power shuts off. And then I remember I start panicking while this is happening, because it's like all I've seen is blackness for 2 days. because I slept so long through the light because I was so tired I couldn't sleep the night before because I was so freaked out. And then I'm in the night and all I see is blackness. I'm like, I have to get out of my house. I have to get in my car and I'll leave. And I just find a little part of town that's got light and I just park under the light. And I'm just sitting there in the, like my dark car and the lights on my car. And I'm just like feeling okay because I can see something. Right. And it's just like, I have light. I call my dad and I just talk to him for a little bit to like kind of relax and stuff like that. It was like super late. I didn't want to call you or anything. And it was like, I just remember like this moment of like being in the light. It's like, oh, this feels okay. This feels right. Like I'm okay for a little bit. You'd be surprised how much, and granted, I'm not in a healthy mental state while this is going on, but you're surprised how much darkness like destroys you. Mm-hmm. Like it's bad. And there's like a part of the story I'm kind of missing here too, is like when we were like rolling at the gym, I get so freaked out when people would like grab my arms and grab my legs because I couldn't feel it, that I'd freak out and I'd start to cry and I'd start to heavily breathe. And I didn't, we figured they were panic attacks, but we didn't figure all these things were connected.
Yeah.
We figured something was going on. I figured I had brain damage and I was panicking because I had brain damage.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where we get, now I don't know how we ended up at the doctor the second time because I thought we only went twice.
We did.
No, because the second time we went, I actually got help.
You did, but it was very dramatic.
But no, I went one time where the girl kicked us out. She said I was fine.
Yeah, that was that time. And then you went to...
No. Then I went by myself.
You went to the walk-in clinic by yourself. And that's when you got help.
No, I didn't get help at the walk-in clinic.
No, the mental health walk-in clinic.
No, I didn't. So you're missing some of the story.
No.
Yeah, because there's the part where the girl says she kicked me out because she's just like, I haven't had caffeine in 2 days. So she sent me home.
Oh, you must have been... Oh, no. Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
You must have been alone, though.
So I don't remember which time you were with me because you carried me in one time.
I was with you 2 times.
I went like 4 or 5 times.
Maybe.
Right? I went probably 6 because I went a bunch of times on my own too. So like there was one time I was like, I needed your help. You showed up there and I got out of my car and I couldn't walk.
Yeah, because you texted me because you needed me to cover the kids. It was having a snow day, so you didn't have to go to the after school program. But you needed me to cover the kids' classes because it was a day I don't normally come in. And you were like, I can't stop shaking. So I showed up I met you at the ER, and then you got out of the car and we're literally like, I could visually see you physically shaking. So I like walked you in, and then you got to the desk and we were like waiting at the desk, and you were like arm around my shoulder, like leaning on me holding you up. And then the guy like came over immediately. And then I like walked you over to the check-in, and they took you in really fast that time because you were like,
I was messed up.
You were a disaster, and we're sitting in the waiting room, and you're like,
they gave me an EKG.
Yeah, they gave you like all the tests that time.
Yeah. So like I'm trying to just get it straight because like it was so convoluted in my head. But like I went to the walk-in clinic. You drove me there, and then they couldn't take us because they had no doctor.
That was another time.
Right. So we went into the walk-in clinic. They couldn't take us because there was no doctor. We waited, and then all of a sudden we found out the doctor wasn't coming in that day, so they just said, oh, you can go. After waiting like 3 hours. And there's no doctor. In Canada healthcare system, don't get me started. That's a whole nother conversation we could talk for hours. So we had that issue. Then we finally I started reading a lot more, and I started thinking that this is an anxiety disorder. Like I diagnosed myself before I was diagnosed, and it turned out that's what it was. It was an anxiety disorder called depersonalization and derealization, right? Which they all kind of chain together. It's part of your fight, flight, or freeze mechanism, which is basically I was in the freeze and I was stuck there and I couldn't get out. So basically I was scared of anxiety, and so it was causing more anxiety, and I was in this perpetual loop in my head. So I was scared of being scared, which was making me scared, which was, it's hell.
Yeah.
And I go in and I talk to this, I go into the mental health clinic after this point. I book an appointment with them. I told you not to go up there with them, and I ended up talking to this lady, and she takes me in, and she's just a nurse, but she was great, and she deals with people all the time. And she ended up being a Catholic, which was phenomenal. And because like all of a sudden we could break this barrier of like, I think God's involved in this. There's like, I rebelled against him. I'm searching for him. He's not helping me out of this. What's going on? And that's where she kind of pointed me to like Joyce Meyers and the Battlefield of the Mind. I started and this is like the start of my like upwards trajectory, because like I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm still pretty messed up. But I started thinking about like you have to renew your mind, and you have to like practice things, and you don't overcome things like that verse in the Bible where it's like, you know, if you were to overcome everything now, the beasts of the field would consume you. Right? It's the Old Testament, which is like you have to do it gradually. You can't do it at once. If not, your own pride will take hold of you. Like if I don't go through this journey, if I don't go through the suffering, I haven't learned anything. I haven't grown from it. And I have to go through this, which is like the rough part. And then we started going to a different church for a little while because our church was destroyed in the hurricane. So we had to go to a different church. And by coincidence, what a coincidence, as we go, the service that they start preaching for a month was all on mental health.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I remember this because we were thinking that there was something like spiritual involved because
Oh, yeah. Okay. We should talk about that. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Like take a step back to the day before, right? It was the day before.
I don't know if it was the day before or like it was pretty soon because like you were lying on your bed just like completely out of it, and you were I kind of thought that there was something spiritual going on because the way that you were speaking was very like it was just I remember saying to you like all you're saying is lies, like God has abandoned me, God doesn't love me, I'm like I've sinned too much, I've done like I was
convinced that God left me.
I was like,
yeah,
these are all just lies. Like these are all lies. So I remember just talking to you like God is not like trying to speak the truth over and over. And then you're lying in your bed, and we were talking, and then you looked at me with like this look of like horror, and I was like, "What? Like what is going on? What's going on now? Like what has happened?" And you're like, I swear you were scowling at me. So then you can talk about what that looked like.
Yeah. So like. It looked like your face was melting off of you, and that was like the thing. It's like, but it's like you're scowling, so it's like you're kind of taking your two lips and bringing it down like a big frown, but almost like super accentuated, like your skin didn't fit your face, and like it was falling down, and like it freaked me out. And it was like you're scowling at me, and you're sitting really close to me at the time, and it was just like. And
that's awful.
Yeah, and it was.
I promise you, I was not scowling at you.
Yeah, I know, but I swear to this day you were.
And you were terrified the whole time that I was going to leave you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was going to be like too much.
Yeah, and you didn't, which still shocks me because it was a lot to put on you. And this is like to you because I had to go to you and I had to tell you I can't take any of your problems.
Yes.
I can't handle anything that you're going through right now. I can't be there for you in any way.
Yeah, actually I remember that because there was one day I had a really bad day at work with the kid that I was working with, and I thought things were going to go really badly for him, and like just I thought he was going to leave the school I was working at, and like I just felt like I had failed him, like I wasn't going to be able to protect him from what was coming. And we were going to the store, and we were in two separate cars, and I was driving there, and I just started like bawling, and then I like parked, and I was like because we had already had the talk of like you need me to be like strong, and then you got him. I was like I didn't know what to do because I couldn't just leave you there. And then you came into my car, and just like instantly I saw you like I don't know, like dive, like get worse like instantly. And I just remember that I like cried harder because I was like, I can't do this.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I don't think I could have done it without you, and it did create some hardship between us in a little bit, but like I said, because you were like a safe place for me during this process. You were a place where I could be crazy and not have to hide it, because I didn't want anybody to know what was going on. So I'm faking it throughout the day, but most of the time I'm just like freaking out. I want to be home. I'm panicking. I'm going off into back rooms by myself, and I'm crying because I can't hold it back, and it's breaking me down. And I remember one situation, I couldn't take. I went into the back room and I just started beating the heavy bag, you were there, you cleaned the gym, and then I just sat on the floor and like sat in the corner and just cried, and like I just like I was out of it, and I knew I couldn't be there for anybody. I knew it was impossible. Now I lost
well, we were talking about the spiritual
church
aspect, because then I was like, because we didn't have a church to go to, and I was like, we need to go to church. I don't care where, we need to go. And I had seen,
because you were convinced at this time that there's something demonic involved, and so was
I'm not unconvinced that there wasn't, but I had researched this church before for Christmas, because I had wanted to go to the Christmas Eve service. And then COVID happened, so all the Christmas Eve services got down. But it was in my brain, and I was like, well, you know what? That looked like a decent church. It's 5 minutes down the road, because another thing was that you couldn't really drive. Like, I couldn't get you anywhere. Like, driving was hard for you. Like, long-distance trips was hell, basically, for you. So I was like, it's 5 minutes down the road. We need to go with it. We need to go. So we showed up Sunday morning, made you get out of bed, took you to church. You're sitting there, like, shaking the whole time. But then
here's a part I didn't tell you too, is I remember praying that day when they gave us the communion. I remember praying over the communion. I'm like, if God, if you're real, I'm going to drink this communion, I'm going to be healed. And it didn't. And that was like one of these other things that kind of ate at me, that he abandoned me. But sorry, keep going.
Well, that was just basically it. So we went, and then the first sermon, they had just started this week, the sermon on, or the series on mental health. And I remember looking at you and being like, this is for you. Listen up.
Yeah, and we went and actually asked the pastor to pray over us too.
Yeah.
Pastor, sorry, to pray over us, because like he said at the end, he's like, if anybody's going through anything like this, come up and ask for prayer. And maybe his prayer had an effect, because again, this is like all this starting on the upward trajectory, right? Talking to the Catholic mental health and going to this church, and they started a sermon right away on mental health, what was going on. And this is like when everything starts to click, that it's mental health. And the big thing that kind of got the confirmation is when we went to the doctor, and they got us in right away, because you were carrying me, and they did the EKG on me. And then I finally got to talk to this doctor, and you left at this point.
I went to teach the kids classes, and then I came back.
Yeah, so I finally got to talk to this doctor, and he was great at the start. He was phenomenal at the start, and I don't blame him, because an ER doctor has a lot on their plate.
Yeah.
So there's no me looking at him saying, oh, you should have handled it better. He's dealing with people who are literally dying, and I'm a guy with having a panic attack. So like I get where he's coming from, but he also doesn't understand where I'm coming from. So they do the EKG. They think that I'm fine. They do the blood work. They know they had my blood work from before. They looked at it. Everything was fine. Everything was coming clear on the board. And he finally gave me like a diagnosis. Right, I'm going through a panic disorder, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. I was going through like PTSD. He was explaining it to me like the way he explained it is as if I went through war, and now I'm in a constant state of fright, like I'm in war. He says, I deal with military guys who do this. They can hear a drop of a pin down the hallway. You could probably hear the same thing. And then he explained everything on why I felt it, and like all started to make sense. The reason I can't feel my arms and legs is because my body's preparing for combat. So it's sucking all the blood from my arms and legs and putting it around my organs. That's why I can't feel it, because my body thinks I'm in combat 24/7. The reason my vision was all messed up is because I'm getting tunnel vision, because it's putting me in focus. It's getting me ready for combat. The reason my hearing was so heightened is because it's ready for combat. The reason that I don't have a perception of time is because everything is slowing down, because I'm ready for combat. All these things. So it's exactly the same thing. And you can relate to this because you fought, and I can relate to this because I fought. It's the same thing as getting in a cage and fighting. Yeah. But you're in combat, and it only lasts for 5 minutes, and then you have that, or 15 minutes if you go, you went full, right? 15. Yeah. So 15 minutes for you. No, 9, because you did 3 minutes. Three threes. So 9 minutes for you. And I only went 2 rounds, 1.5 rounds. And then your adrenaline plummets, and you come back. My adrenaline wasn't plumbing. So basically what was happening, as I finally learned, is that I was in a constant state of adrenaline high for 2 months. My adrenaline skyrocketed through the roof. We got a super chat came in from Infection. Says, I know you're not Orthodox, but the priests are nice and their prayers against demons work. You can also get Christian therapy if you want these. We're actually going to talk about that a little bit here as we keep going, because that's kind of part of the story. Not the Orthodox aspect, but we did start doing that and searching and looking stuff, but about therapy with Christians and stuff like that. But we'll get there. Your question's not going unanswered, I promise. So What was the last thing I just said?
Oh, you're talking about fight or flight.
Yeah, so I'm in this constant state of fight or flight. So now I know what I'm going through.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know how the hell to get out of it.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of learned this technique. The only way to get out of anxiety is to go into the anxiety.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no other way. There's no other way to get out of a state of a panic disorder. There's no other way to get out of PTSD. There's nothing you can do in the moment. There's things you can do long term to make sure it's preventative. But like when you're there, the only thing you can do is panic and not try to run from it. If you're going to have a panic attack, freaking panic and just let it happen and run into it. If you think like, if you're scared of it, face it. Like that, if all you're doing is not thinking about panicking, think about panicking. If all you're doing is thinking about not going outside, go outside. Yeah. It's literally the only thing you can do. And this is where it kind of started. I started to come out of it, which also really sucked because now I could feel, right? Because I went from the state of not feeling anything to now I can, I'm missing a part here. Before I could start feeling, I don't think I told you this. I spent, I don't know, it had to be at least an hour. I had to be an hour on my knees in prayer. Just with my hands pushed up to the roof till I felt like I couldn't hold my arms up anymore. And all I did was repeat the Our Father over and over again. I said what I wanted at the start, and then I just started repeating Our Father. You know, Our Father's in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. I'm forgetting it now. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we also forgive our debtors. And do not lead us to temptation, but deliver us from evil. I just repeated that over and over and over again. I'm like, if I show him how faithful I am, he'll help me. And I think he did, but not in the way I was hoping. I was hoping he was just going to come down with this, like what he did for me before, which he was just going to come down and he'd give me that magical feeling of the Holy Spirit lightening me up and it'd all be gone, like it was for 2 years. And I'll talk more about this later, the realization I came to, but I want to kind of finish the story before I do. And I was hoping for that and it didn't happen, but I did start to come out of it. And through coming out of it, now I could feel, which means I could feel my anxiety, which means I could feel my heart. And it felt like I was having a heart attack 24/7. And I remember I tried to go on live one night and tried to go on TikTok. And I remember Jordan came in and all I can remember is his comment is like, who killed John's cat? That's all he said. or something like that. Like John looks like his cat was killed or something like that. He's like along those lines, or like, he just talked about like how miserable I looked. And so I just ended the live there. Yeah. And it was like, I was like, I can't be on live because like everybody was telling me how miserable I look. Everybody's telling me how short tempered I was. Yeah. The real reason I was is because I felt like I was having a heart attack. Yeah. But I'm trying to normalize my life. I'm trying not to lay in bed and just let my anxiety win. I was trying to overcome it. And it started that. And due to the doctor, my interaction with the doctor that night. Do you want to talk about that, actually? That night when you came?
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
So we're going to rewind a bit. I'm sorry. Again, I told you guys the story's going to be all over the place. We're going to rewind again back to the night where the doctor told me I had this PTSD because he put us in with the mental health nurse. Now you can go from there.
Yeah. So I came as soon as I finished the kids classes, I came back to the hospital and you called me on my way back there. And you're like, I just saw the doctor, and you kind of explained it to me, and then you're like, the nurse wants to talk to you. I was like, am I in trouble? Like, what did I do?
And she wanted to talk to you alone.
Yeah, she wanted to talk to me alone. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So I came in. I was like, my fiance's in the back. I need to go in there. And then the nurse came out and got me and took me. I didn't even get to see you. So she took me to the back room. And then she was just essentially asking me, like, my perspective on things and, like, if I could think of anything that had happened or whatever that was going on or whatever. And then she kind of told me what she had told you in regards of a plan. And I remember just being like, because it was all like, he can start doing these groups that are helpful, and he can, we'll put him on a waiting list to get in to see a psychiatrist and all these things. And I looked at her and I was like, he can't function. He can't work. And if he can't work, he can't pay his rent.
Yeah.
And she was just like,
Yeah.
We'll put him on a waiting list. And I get that, like, it's not her fault.
No.
Like, it wasn't her fault. But I was just like, this is it. Like, this is all you can do. Like, I don't know. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, they wanted to help, but they just, the resources here in Canada, they don't have it.
Yeah.
And like, she was like, that's the best we can do. And
yeah.
she's like,
so then I went in to see you, and you were like dying in a chair. And so I sat there, and she was telling us all about this. And then I think you were like, the only way you could see somebody was to stay overnight or something.
Yeah. So they're
immediately, like
there are like two conditions. Like if I was suicidal,
yeah,
right, when they asked me about that, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Like I was, what I said to the nurse at this point, I'm like, I know I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah.
Right. And that was my faith, as I knew God was going to come through. Yeah. It's like, I know I'm going to get out of this, so I'm not. But if I thought I was stuck here, I would be. Mm-hmm. And so like they were okay with that.
Yeah.
And then the other option was like I had to wait, but then I had to wait overnight, and they wouldn't know when they come in. And I'm like, and then we had like this whole discussion about medication, but they didn't want me to go on medication because I didn't have a family doctor.
Yeah. So, yes. Yeah. That was the big thing. Yeah. Because I was like, he can't get one. There are none.
Yeah.
I was like, you're not going to give him a medication to, and then they were like, well, it wouldn't kick in for like 2 weeks or whatever. And
we have no one to check up on you on the dosage.
And then, so then, because she had said that, maybe if you wait overnight, you would get help. So then the doctor came back in, and we were like, can we stay overnight?
Well,
and that's when he turned.
Yeah, that's when he flipped. He got mad. He just threw the paper on the ground. He's like, what do you want? I'll write down your dosage. Like, you tell me your medication. You want medication, you don't want medication.
Because he didn't think you should.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was it, was that he didn't think you should. And it was just like, he just a short fuse.
Yeah, he had a short fuse that night.
So then we were like, you know what? We kind of like quickly were like, shut up. Just like, okay, we're gonna go back. And then he walked out of the room, and you just like collapsed because you couldn't take that kind of confrontation. No. Like the escalation was just like too much. And I remember just being like holding your arm and just waiting for him to, I was so close to just being like, you need to leave.
Yeah, that one was rough. And again, I don't blame him because he's got a lot on his plate. As far as he knows, I'm just a guy having a panic attack, but like he doesn't see the whole story of everything. He just knows what I'm telling him. And of course, when people go to the doctor, they make it sound worse than it actually is. So like he's just like, you want your medication, I'll give you medication. And I'm like, I don't know. You're the doctor. You tell me. I just need help.
So yeah, that night we went back. I got you into your apartment, and I think we both just like cried.
Yeah. Yeah, just laid in bed and cried. But they did hook us up with that same nurse.
Yeah.
Right. So I went back and talked to her again, and she was great, but she was just like an ear.
Yeah.
Right. So she wasn't really too helpful. Like she had a great heart, and she had good intention, and she does wonderful at her job, but it wasn't what I needed. I started going to group
DBT. Dialectical behavioral therapy.
No, I didn't get to that point. I just did the cognitive
behavioral
therapy. By the time I got the invitation to go to the dialectical, I was out of it, so I didn't go to that. So I go to the cognitive behavioral therapy, but me being me, and later realizing I have OCD, which is a big reason why I have this. Mm-hmm. I already learned everything I could about cognitive behavioral therapy. I read everything. So like everything they told me, I was like, I know this. And it wasn't me being like arrogant, like, oh, I know this already. It was like, can you guys tell me something I don't know?
Yeah.
And like at the end of it, like I'm sitting there talking, and they're like, we're just having conversations about it, and they're talking about their issues, and I'm talking about mine, and it's like, it was nice, but
that's part of it though.
Yeah.
Is talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. Like they did a great job. It just, I didn't feel like I got a lot from it, except for comfort from knowing what there are other people out there going through what I was going through.
And like you said, most people aren't going to be like you, and that's where they oops,
relax.
Drop my phone. That's where they are going to learn. About it.
Yeah. So then I finally get the phone call to go see an actual psychiatrist.
Yeah.
go to a psychiatrist. We get to talking. He gets my story. He puts me on medication, right? He hears what I'm going through. So right now I'm on a relatively low dose of an SNRI. And we wanted to start on a low dose because the big thing for me is I wanted to learn the skills that got me out of this. I didn't want to just medicate myself away from this. So we got enough of that to kind of do it so I could cope and figure out, what are you doing? Stretching?
No.
I got enough of, were you burping?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just didn't want to do it in the mic?
I didn't want to do the mic.
So,
Being polite.
I got it. So yeah, I got enough medication, and then we talked about like the symptoms I was going through, and he gave me like an official diagnosis, right? He's like, I have obsessive compulsive anxiety disorder, right? So big reason I get stuck in these mental loops is I can't stop thinking about things. I dive into it, right? And you talked about this recently with my whole, Catholicism thing is like, as soon as
your diagnosis has actually been really helpful.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about diagnosis, is that it just helps you understand yourself, and it helps your loved ones understand yourself. Because it's not like I already knew all these things about you, but then I'm like, oh, it's because that's how his brain is wired.
Yeah.
And it's like when you do things, I'm like, oh, it's like, that makes sense.
It makes sense. But with that being said, it's not an excuse to do those things.
No.
Which is something I think
it's just understanding.
Which a lot of people I think use, like they'll be diagnosed with something and they'll be like, oh, it's okay because I'm this. And it's like, no, you've been diagnosed with that so you can learn how to overcome it. So the steps to go through.
I forget the therapist guy that I like to says, what does he say? It's diagnosis is a context, not a, I forget what he says, but essentially it's a context to understand yourself. It's not an excuse for your behavior. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think a lot of the world does nowadays. Yeah. It's like, I'm this, so it's okay for me to throw a big fit or do something. And it's like, and it's excuse. It's like, no, it's like, okay, so I have obsessive compulsive disorder. That's not an excuse for me to be a douche about certain things, right? And sometimes it does make me be a douche because I'm so obsessed about a certain thing that I can't get away from it. Like if we're in a fight, I can't stop fighting. Yeah. Right. If you try to walk away and relax, I can't do it. It's an impossibility. But that's not an excuse to yell at you and call you the effing B word and being like, you effing B. And it's like, I can't do that.
Even things like, what was it I told you bothered me the other day? It was your laundry. Like you would put your laundry on the floor and not in the bin. And so it's like, I know that's because you build habits. Like you just, like compulsions, you just build the habit. You just drop it on the floor. Yeah. But that doesn't give you an excuse to just put it on the floor all the time. It's something you have to work harder to do and overcome.
Well, it's also like what I explained to you too. I'm like, okay, if you want me to put it in the hamper, then you got to make sure the hamper's there. Yeah. And not some random place. Yeah. Because I got to build the habit of putting it there in the same spot or I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. But you will do it. Yeah. You just got to work harder.
Yeah. Once it becomes the habit, it's stuck because I'll obsess over that. But it's like, if the hamper's here and then there and then there and then there and there, I'll just put it.
There's no routine.
There's no routine. And I won't get into that. It's like I make the bed every day because it's part of my routine to the point where if I don't make the bed, I don't feel right. I'm uncomfortable. There's a certain, I have certain compulsions that I've broken over the years, but I had like weird ones. Like I used to have to put blankets between my toes before I went to sleep. I used to have to turn my handle 3 times before I went to bed. I used to have to check the door. I had to push in on the door 3 times. I had to make sure I was wearing the exact right sock on each foot.
Fun fact for everybody. Yeah. I don't know if you still can, but you could feel the different, he could feel which sock was shaped to which foot. Yeah. So out of a pair, he knew which one was left or right. Yeah. That blows my mind because I would never notice. Yeah, I can understand 2 different socks, not okay. That feels weird.
No, they have to go on a specific foot.
You can feel which foot they're shaped to. Yeah. Which is hilarious to me. And
it's funny too because I remember I told my brother about my diagnosis and he's like, yeah. That makes sense, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and you told me, because we thought you had ADD or something. Yeah. And then you told me, you're like, it's not ADD, it's OCD. I was like, yeah. And a lot of these diagnoses overlap, and it makes sense, and you have anxiety because you have OCD. They all overlap, but it was just like, oh.
Yeah. And we've been chatting. How long we've been going now? What are we at here for time? Where is the time? It doesn't matter. We've been going a while, so I'm going to try to like wrap it up. There's a big reason, like I kind of wanted to share this aspect because I gave like my second testimony thing because I wanted people to know. And the big reason I wanted to do that is because a big part of my testimony is God took away my anxiety and my depression. It came back, right? So can I really say he took that from me? And it's like, if it came back, what did he really, is my testimony worth anything? And I think so. And the reason I think so is because he took it away. He gave it back, but I couldn't have gotten through it without him. Right? What I got through, I now have the skills to conquer it. Right? I'm not reliant on God to do it for me, which a lot of Christians might say, well, you should always rely on, and I do. I relied on God to get me through it, to help me grow. And I think this is the part of what we call sanctification, because God wasn't absent through this, right? He showed up at the church. He showed up with bringing me Christians, right? To the point now where like I'm in therapy, and is a guy who watched my lives, and phenomenal guy, super patient because I'm horrible at doing my homework, and he's a Christian, and he's providing me therapy, and we've gotten to like the roots of like why I have this and why I had like such a big event for something that seems so small, which ultimately came from childhood trauma that I went through. And that's not for today's story. That's maybe a different story. There's no reason for me to bring that in at this point. No. But like I went through some traumatic stuff as a kid, and we were able to find the correlation between the two. We were able to find the event. We were like, so like I had to write everything down, and we were like, this event that you went through when you rebelled is exactly the same as this event you went through when you put it side by side. It had just different characters, right? I'm saying this all vaguely, so like I don't call anybody out on anything that happened. It's not here nor there. And then we were able to find CMS Films. Thank you so much for the subscription. We were able to find out why I have OCD, why I have anxiety, why I have depression, because it all stemmed from how I was programmed as a kid, right? So my brain is set up this way, and this is where we get into, I talk a lot about it in my lives, is like the neuroplasticity. You think a certain way, your brain wires it, becomes easy to do that, right? So it's like, if you're somebody who's I'll use you as an example. If you're somebody who's super empathetic, and you're super empathetic, right? You really connect with people on a deep level, and it's easy for you to do. It's not easy for everybody. That stems from something that you built as a kid, right? You built this ability to connect with people, and it's super easy for you to fire that. And we're working on some things in your life right now where we're trying to build new pathways where it's not so easy. Can we talk about the sorry?
Yeah.
So you got a tendency to say sorry about everything.
Yeah.
Right. You carry too much guilt, right? And you're like, I'm sorry about that. Sorry about this. Sorry about that. So we're working on
sorry for things that aren't my fault.
That aren't even your fault. So we're working on things to like overcome that, but it's not easy, right? It's like when we talked about this. So like those not listening, it's like changing, like stick out your index finger on one hand, or for those who are listening and not watching, stick out your index finger on one hand, your thumb up on the other, and then change sides, stick your thumb up on the other one, index finger on the out, and put the other two fingers down, and kind of flip back and forth. When you do that the first time, you can't do it, right? It's super hard. Why is that? Well, the reason that is because you haven't built the pathway in your brain to do that yet. So, and this is what I learned in cognitive behavioral therapy. All I'm doing as an adult to fix these mental health issues is I'm rebuilding these pathways that I haven't done before. People already have these skills, but they had it embedded in them when they're young, when their brains are spongy, and it builds the pathways easier, right? I built different ones. You built different ones. So I'm now learned to rebuild these pathways. And that's where it goes back to scripture, right? Salvation falls to the cross. The rejuvenation of your mind is your responsibility. I will never forget that quote. That fell upon me. There's two things that fell upon me while I was in this RDA. Thank you for the subscription. Two things that fell on me when I was in this mental state that I knew were from God. It was that one, is that, and that quote will never leave me, is that salvation belongs to Christ. Rejuvenation of your mind belongs to you, right? You got responsibility. You got to work. You have to put the work in to sanctify yourself. Christ isn't going to do it for you. He's going to help you. He's going to be your teacher. He's going to be a part of you. He's going to guide you. And if you lean into him, it's going to get done. But you got to do the damn work.
Yeah. Well, it's like if God, like, God took away your anxiety and depression, and your anxiety and depression before were from your past, like that was also from your past. So he took it away from you, but you would never have dealt with what you needed to deal with if you didn't need to. So if you were just fine, then what do you need to look into your past for? But that is something that you do need to, like, everybody needs to. I think everybody should go to therapy, but everybody needs to look at their past and be like, oh, this is why I am the way I am. And maybe some of the reasons or some of the ways that I don't have to be if I can rebuild these pathways. And so it's almost like it's a blessing that you did go through it again, because now you're dealing with all of these things and you're able to put away some of those things and move past some of those things that you never would have if you hadn't gone through it again.
Yeah, it's and this thing too is like that nurse said to me. She said, maybe God's putting you through this so you can help someone one day going through something similar who may not even be connected to God, right? We never know, and yeah, so it's making me, because I buried my trauma, like I buried it. It's like, I'm good, like I don't need to tackle it, like it's nothing. I went through it, it's done, I got over it, right? I'm an adult
and
now.
I remember saying this to you, because sometimes you tell me stories and I'd be like, I'm sorry that happened to you. And you're like, oh, it's fine. That was in the past. And I was like, no. That is not a normal thing for a person to go through. Yeah, it was. And you just kind of brushed it off.
Yeah, I've had an interest in life. Maybe one day I'll write a book. And then the second thing, and this was the most important thing I think God put on my heart that he gave to me, is that I was living on my emotion and I wasn't living on faith. That was a big one that kind of hit me deep, because when I was on fire for Christ and my TikTok views were up and my lives were up and my income was up and everything was looking good and people were coming to Christ and the Holy Spirit was firing me up. You know, it was easy. It was so easy to be like, God's great. He's so good. And then I had to have my Job moment where you go through your chaos and you walk through hell and then you still sit there and you say, God's great. Because he is. Because everything he did is so good. And it's like Jordan Peterson said this, and I think it's so good. It's like, what is better, a righteous man who is just righteous, or a righteous man who walked through hell and came out of it righteous? Like the latter is better. Yeah. I don't care what everybody who comes at me and says, oh no, it's just better to be righteous. It makes no difference at the end. I'm like, I'm sorry. It makes a difference. I can't give you the philosophical breakdown on why it does. I just know it does. Right. I can't give you premise 1, premise 2, premise 3 on why it works. But
well, is it like in human relationships too? Like, I would say our relationship is better for walking through this, for walking through my issues, for walking through all of our drama. I'd say that we have a stronger relationship than we would if it had been all sunshine and roses. So why wouldn't that premise be the same with God?
Oh yeah, it's and that's another thing too. Is like, I'm not worried about our marriage because if we went through what we went through before we got married, like we did it all. Like we had our own personal issues with family members. We had my mental health breakdown. We had the fact that, you know, I lived in that tiny crappy apartment. You know, we had the fact of buying a house before we got married. Like they say, if you can get through buying a house together, like we went through a lot before getting married, and then we got married. So it's like, I know, knock on wood, don't test God, but it's like he's throwing a lot at us. I think we can handle a lot more. I think, I don't know what the ultimate point of this live. I hope it was helpful to people. 2 things I kind of wanted to do for sure is I wanted to talk more about mental health, because like you said, is when I opened up about this, I found out my brother was on medication for anxiety and depersonalization. Same thing I was going through, right? I found out a friend of mine was on the exact same medication I was on, right? I just found so many people, like I went to your family and talked about it, and I was like, it was this kind, and your family was like, oh yeah, SNRI, and it's this and that, and we did that. And it was like, and I just realized how many people are going through things right now. Yeah. So many. Most people. Yeah, I have another friend over on, I don't know if he wants me to mention him, but that I talked to, that we met through TikTok. You know, he started his whole path on therapy, going through his issues on depression, stuff like that. Mental health is a huge thing right now. And suicide is a huge thing right now. So many people are suicidal. So many people. And it's growing, and we don't have the resources to help people, and nobody wants to talk about it because here's how I felt and how I still feel about it. And here's why I don't want to talk about it is I feel weak and I don't feel like a man. That's the biggest thing for me is
shame.
I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed to sit here and say I wasn't strong enough to handle my own brain. Right? How much of a am I? Like, and I think there's so many men out there like that right now who are just they're going through it and no one knows that they even are. Because I was going through hell and the only people who knew it were the people closest to me. Nobody knew except for those that I wanted to tell. People thought I was just a douche. But I was going through hell. And how many people we know that we think maybe they're just douchebags?
That's true. Yeah.
But they're going through hell.
Yeah. It makes you kind of give a little bit more compassion because you're like, well, I act this way. Like, I'm very irritable when I'm anxious.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not actually me. It's not how I want to act. It's that I feel like I'm dying inside. So maybe this person who, flipped me off in traffic is just having a rough day.
Yeah. There's this Catholic belief, and no, this is not me saying that. Anyways, there's this Catholic belief. It's called common grace that I really like. And it's the idea that, yes, we have grace from God, but we also have grace from our fellow man. Where it's like, we have therapy. We have medical services. And there's a lot of people, like I know people who say, I won't go to a doctor. I'll just pray to God. Yeah. Right. And they'll put
and they don't accept the fact that maybe God's using the doctor to heal them.
Yeah. And I don't think they read scripture because every time somebody was healed, they just weren't walking down the street and all of a sudden, oh, I feel great. Someone was sent. Yeah. Right. Either it was Jesus, he's God, but then he was God as man. And then there was Paul. Paul was sent. And Paul even talked about, he's like, I can heal all these people, but I can't heal myself. Right. I can't heal Timothy. I think it was Timothy. Right. And then the apostles were sent out. They were healing people. So they weren't just springing up and being healed. People were used. And granted, they performed miracles, but there's something to say about I have my therapist, he's a Christian, and I 100% believe God has been using him to help me. Because some of the things he's bringing to my doorstep is it's just mind blowing what we're going through. And that's his ministry, right? I can see that in him. That's how he serves God, is by doing therapy. And I'm one of the people he reached out to help with that. My ministry is being a douchebag on the internet, right? That's what I do. It works for me because it kind of works with my personality, but I can talk to people and I can bring people in and I can open up conversations. That's my ministry. Is it always fruitful? No, I'm a human and I fail. Is it fruitful sometimes? Great. If it's fruitful 1% of the time, it's worth it, right? Your ministry is caring, right? You have this just innate ability to just love on people, which is sometimes all that you need. Like that family went through something and you made them spaghetti. Like that meant the world to them, right? That's a huge thing. And it's like, that's your ministry. And we have to remember there's this common grace out there that it's okay to go get help. It's okay to, if you're going through something right now, if by chance you're listening to this, go get help. If you need it, if you're going through something, go to your doctor, go to a mental health clinic, go to a therapist, go to your pastor, go to your priest. Doesn't freaking matter. Go to if you're in a situation right now where if you're thinking to yourself right now, you're listening to this, I'd be better off if I wasn't here. Go talk to somebody and be direct with what you're saying. Yeah. Don't come up and be like, I'm kind of depressed, and walk up to somebody and say, I wish I wasn't alive anymore. And this is why. What should I do? Because I don't want to be here anymore. Right? Somebody, and not just a friend, not a family member, a professional. Somebody that is meant to help you with these things. And I think it's so important. And I think part of my journey, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think kind of inspired you a little bit to dive into your own stuff, because you started doing a lot more listening to your therapist guy and talk a little bit about.
Well, that come my my brother gave me the book. I think my brother started realizing that I was not really okay, and then you were going through all your stuff, and you had given the okay to be open with my family, so they kind of knew when you didn't show up that it wasn't just because you're blown off. It was for a reason. So he gave me the book it's called Own Your Past, Change Your Future by Dr. John Deloney, and he has a podcast called The Dr. John Deloney Show. And he's just very, very helpful. We'll pass.
Hold that thought. Clay Step came in with the super chat, says, I can relate to so much of what you are saying. Did you ever feel like God was so far away? Because I feel like I can't feel God like I used to. I still feel like God's far away currently in my life. I know he's not, because he's answering my prayers. And I think there's a reason he's been distant in my life. There's a purpose to it, but I think he's come creeping back in. And I think a lot of that had to do with relying on faith, which is trust, which is, how's that quote go? The faith is the promise of things unheard.
The assurance of things hoped for.
The assurance of things, the assurance of things hoped for and the things not seen, right? And part of that is like knowing not knowing what's going to come. So like, so we want God to just be in our life and say, go left, go right, go straight down this way. And sometimes you just got to walk down the path and trust that if God didn't want you there, he put you somewhere else, right? And you just got to, you're not going to feel it. You're not going to hear it. You're not going to see it. He's not going to be present. He's going to be distant. Like I said, right now, God used to light me up all the time. I haven't felt his presence in probably, how long has it been since the hurricane?
A year. And it's like, God, like you do feel that God is far away, but then it's like you said, that's where the faith comes in of like, it's really hard to read your Bible when you feel like God's not doing anything and you feel like he's not there. It's really hard to pray. And it's like, but doing those things consistently are like, it's almost like a lifeline, like, and kind of like anchors you in. And then also looking for God in the unexpected places. So it's like, maybe he's not lighting up your house. Maybe he's not changing the lights, but like we've been very blessed with
everything we prayed for, he's given us.
We're completely taken care of, and like bringing people into our lives and giving us opportunities to give to other people. So it's like you could brush all that stuff off as just like, oh well, just luck. But I don't believe that it is luck. I believe like
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense why we've been able to do what we've done and why we've gotten what we've gotten and how we've been blessed. And it's without that presence. It's without that. And I would trade it all for the presence, for his love. I would in a heartbeat. I'd give up everything that we've ever had, but there's a reason he's doing it, and it's for our sake. And I think that's super important, is just having that trust in him, just leaning in and knowing that even if you can't feel the bubbly butterflies in the stomach, it's like marriage. You know, one day for you and I, our honeymoon stage is going to be over. The butterflies are going to be gone, and it's going to be how we work at it and what we do, and that's where the love comes in. So you were listening to your doctor.
Yeah. So that he was very helpful because I always wanted to go to therapy, and I just always said that. I still do. But I guess there's things you can do in the meantime. Like I can't go right now, but eventually I might go. But then his book was kind of meant to help you like legit work through it. So there was like homework at the end. There was like questions at the end. And so that I was like, I was in such a bad place too that I was like, I need to commit to working at this, because I don't know when it was fairly recently that I started like making connections from my past to now the way that I am and being like, this all makes so much sense. Like, and kind of looking at things in my past and being like, oh, that was not normal or like healthy. Like that was traumatic. Yeah. And so it was kind of like, because I'll preach to people all the time of like, your childhood, because that's what I went to school for. Your childhood affects your future. Like I told you that. Like I told you that lots. But then kind of looking at myself, like I think I just cared too much about, not that I cared too much about other people, but I was very focused on other people, and I just never really dealt with on myself. Yeah, and that's a big thing with you, is that you care so much about others, but sometimes you forget to care about yourself. Yeah. And I think there's something important here, is because like you're talking about the childhood. And another thing that creeps up all the time is that people use this as like a scapegoat. It's like, oh, so you got problems and you should fix it. Oh, we all got problems. We all went through childhood trauma. Like, what is it? Like, just get up and get over it. And it's like, yeah, we all went through problems and we were all messed up, and we should all try to fix it. Yeah. We shouldn't just get up and get over it, because it doesn't work like that. Your brain doesn't work like that. Yeah. You've literally built something into, literally, I'm not talking figuratively, I'm not talking metaphorically, literally a part of your brain has been carved out with a piece of electricity that says do this. And that's been carved out so many times that your brain could just
fire it. And then when you're trying to do something new, you got to carve out a new piece of your brain. Literally, not a metaphor. This is not a metaphor. And I can't stress this enough. You are literally carving out a new chunk of your brain. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And it's going to take work. And like, there's so many people who've never tackled this. And like a big one, like I realized was, and I'm sure he's fine with me talking about this because he's very open about it, but it was like my father. It's like, I didn't realize that he had anxiety, that he had issues. Like he told me, like I was telling him what I was going through. He's like, yeah, I remember like I was driving home one day and I pulled over and I got out of my car and I walked down to the middle of the woods, sat down and cried. Because he comes from a generation. It's like,
you didn't talk about it.
You didn't talk about it. Pull up your bootstraps and get to work, son. Right? You got problems. We all got problems. Leave him at the door. You're at work. And that's all he does is work because he doesn't know how to sit and process his thoughts. So he'll die with his boots on. And he's trying to figure that out now. Right? At the age of, I don't know, freaking 705. He's old now. But it's like, and then we all got, I bet you everybody listening to this live right now, I haven't even checked how many people are watching between TikTok and YouTube. It doesn't matter. You went to look as soon as I said it. Yeah. But, anybody who's listening to this, I bet you got mental health issues. Of your own.
Well, that's the thing. Like you're saying, like people are like, oh, well, everybody's got problems, but it's like my therapist. I call him my therapist, not my therapist. He's Dr. John Maloney. I really think everyone should listen to him, but I call him my therapist.
I know. We're in the car. Hey, you want to listen to my therapist?
I went back because I'm like behind. All I listened to is his show. Anyway. He's like therapy. Trauma is trauma. Like he never lets anybody compare their trauma because what's the point? Like what you experienced traumatized you. And that's real. So it's like, everyone's like, oh, well, everybody has had problems and well, they have worse problems than me and they're doing fine. But it's like, are they actually doing fine? And why, if they are, I don't think they ended up like that just by luck. They probably worked through it. And if like, most likely they probably aren't fine. Like I'm sure I remember my friend from college said the first day that I walked in, she thought I was so confident and I was like losing it inside. Everybody thinks, puts on a show. So it's like, if everybody just admitted it, we'd all be okay.
We're all freaked out.
We're all freaking out here.
How many people think I'm scary? Everybody thinks I'm scary.
Everyone thinks he's scary.
Like they're all terrified of me and they all think I'm super confident and I'm going to own the world one day. I remember being told this as you're one day going to own these things. And I'm sitting here going like, please don't talk to me. Like inside, I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. Like I'm just a big teddy bear on the inside, but like on the outside, I got like this expression of like just meanness, right? That's built into me that I just hate life and everybody just assumes that. And it's the farthest thing from the truth. And we just don't know. And like, I have this tendency to think that no one likes me, but the truth is they're probably just shy. And just nervous like everybody else.
Exactly.
And we just got to be open. And like what you're talking about is like, I remember going through like my trauma worksheets that I had my homework that I had to do. And they're giving me examples. And like one example was like, if you had a knife pulled on you and this, and I'm like, that's not what I'm going through. And ironically, I have had knives pulled on me, but it doesn't bother me. Like that part of my life doesn't bother me at all. I've had knives pulled on me, machetes pulled on me, broken bottles pulled on me. I don't think baton pulled on me. I don't think I ever had a gun pulled on me. No. But like I've seen some things, wild things. I've seen a guy lose his eyelid. Like none of that bothers me. Like it doesn't even faze me. It doesn't come back. It's, you know what bothers me? Does that guy like me? It's so weird. It's like I literally saw a guy lose his eyelid by getting smashed in the face with a bottle and nothing. But then I think that buddy over there doesn't like the way I taught my class. And that runs through my head over and over because I'm like, why didn't he come back the second day? It's because I didn't throw my kicks right and he threw kicks better than me. And it's like, and so we can't compare our trauma because you don't know what's going to affect you. Some people are going to be affected by, having a gun pulled on them. That's going to mess them up for life. I can guarantee you if someone pulled on a gun on me, it wouldn't faze me at all. But if you broke up with me right now, that would give me trauma. Right? Like that'd be done. Like it's just how we are affected is different. So whatever you're going through, like you might be like, oh, I got trauma because
bad breakup,
or, my kid got a little bit sick and I was worried, and I'm worried about it now. It doesn't matter. If you're going through it, if you can't operate in your day,
that's real.
It's real.
Doesn't matter where it came from.
Doesn't matter. It's like Jordan Peterson says. He says, like, if you think about something, if it pops up in your head over 2 years and it keeps popping up and it causes you discomfort, right? So there's like things pop up in my head all the time, but if it causes you discomfort, you haven't dealt with it. So if you have a childhood memory that comes into your head, that's like, you know, maybe your mom yelled at you because you didn't put the milk back with the lid on. But when it comes back in your head, you have that sinking anxiety feeling or discomfort. Well, you haven't dealt with that. Like, here's an example for me. When I was little, I bought a box of cereal, and my brother ate it all on me the next day. Oh. And he had the audacity to come to me and say, thanks for buying that cereal, man.
Oh my gosh.
Appreciate it. After he ate the whole damn box. And I didn't get any. And it doesn't bother me now when I say it, but for years, I would bring that up in my head.
Which one? Which brother?
My younger brother. I'd bring that up in my head, and it would cause me anger, which meant there was something there that needed to be dealt with. Now, it probably wasn't the box of cereal.
Yeah.
It was probably something connected to that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know from the childhood trauma what that probably is, because you know my story. If not, we could talk about it after the live. But there's something there, right? So it's like, you gotta figure this out. You gotta break it down. And not everybody gets over the trauma by looking into their past. That's something that my therapist made clear to me. Some people just gotta look in the future. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
Some people it's their coping mechanism. Some people it's about getting over it. But the thing is, if you're going through it,
go get help.
Go get help.
Because you're not getting over it by yourself.
No, I didn't get over what I went through when I was suicidal. And I was on the end of my game, and I was pretty sure I was possessed because like those nightmares were wild. And I can't say that for sure. I'm skeptical at heart, honestly.
I don't think you were possessed. I think you were oppressed.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't think I was possessed. I couldn't do it without God.
Yeah.
God was the only one who could get me out of that, and he did. And then I went through this other event, this big event that was worse than my anxiety before. And I couldn't have got out of it without you. I couldn't have gotten out of it without our boss. I couldn't have gotten out of it without God. I couldn't have gotten out of it without the doctors, without the therapy, without the whole community people. I couldn't have gotten out of it without our church because I went to them for prayer. And here's a part that kind of confirms everything with God. I forgot to tell everybody. Before all this went down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so mad I forgot to mention this now. Before all this went down, like 1 week before I had my mental breakdown, my mental crisis, we have 3 pastors. One of them texted me and he said to me, he's like, this might just be bad pizza. I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. But I feel like I just got a prophecy from God that you're going to go through something that's going to put you onto a knee, like Satan twisting a knife in you. And it's going to test your faith. But if you get through it, your faith will be stronger.
He said you would get through it.
Maybe. We'll double check that after. But let's say for the sake of argument, he said if you would get through it and you come out stronger for it. So there's literally this thing. And I was like, and at the time I remember I asked Jordan to pray for me. I went to the chat and I talked to you and I'm just like, what could it be? There's nothing that's going to shake my faith. That's how much I believe in God. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm in this mental crisis where I'm like, I don't know what time it is. And I'm on the ground. And I'm making light of it, but it was hell.
Yeah.
And it's like that.
Thinking God abandoned you. And
here's the key, though: if I didn't get that message from my pastor, I would have given up on God. That one message made me hold on to God because it was like I knew it was part of His plan, or not even part of His plan, but He knew it was going to happen. He was going to be there for me because I'm like,
and you were going to get through it.
Yeah, because I was on the edge of my faith. I didn't think God didn't exist anymore. I thought He left me. I thought He abandoned me. And I lost Him.
I think that's far worse.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd rather He just not exist. I think that's why a lot of atheists go to the path of God doesn't exist instead of God abandoned me, which might be true because much as people don't want to admit it, I think that's scriptural, right? That God will give you up if you don't. That's
in the Bible. God gave them up to their
Don't
sins.
do that now. That's another conversation. We're gonna get there. All right, guys. I think we've been on it for a little bit now. we might just be kind of rambling at this point. So I think it's a good time to end, unless you have more you want to add.
I don't think so.
All right, it's good. So we'll open it up to the chat. If anybody has any questions, we can do the questions now. Abby's got a screen. I got a screen. For the sake of radio silence and for the fact that we're going to have this uploaded onto Spotify after, we can't stay quiet too long. So fire off your questions. If I don't see anything, we got to call it a night and we got to sign off. If there is no questions, that's great. That's fine by me. Give it a couple seconds. On the Discord? Yeah, we'll go on the Discord after.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to come hang out and have a conversation with us, we're both going to go onto the Discord chat. With links down below, and we're just going to hang out, right? So it's not any plan. It's just a place to have an open conversation. Maybe you could talk about some of your stuff there too. Yep. So again, links down there for that. Gavin Jones says, please read Romans 5:1-5. It explains Jordan Peterson's quote. I will, not right now, but I will. Just remind me, Gavin, send me a message. You have my DM on that. So again, we're going to jump off in the Discord. I'm not seeing any questions come in. Maybe everybody thought this was a terrible live. That is what it is. I think it was good. I think it was fruitful. So with that being said, we will sign off. Guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate you all hanging out tonight. If you like this, again, kind of weird to say it now, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit the share, hit the bell icon, and it helps with the channel. If you want to support the ministry, all links are down below where you can follow me on all platforms. If you're on TikTok, please follow me on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on the Instagram. Follow me on Spotify, because these are all going on Spotify now. And if you want to support my ministry, you want to help it grow, you can support me on Patreon. Links down below. That does help. It is part of my livelihood and my income now. So when you guys support, it allows me to do these lives. The less I have there, the more I have to work, the less I can do content here. You guys kind of get how it works on that aspect. So if you want to help it grow, it's there. But like I said, everything I do will always be free. So if you can't and you don't want to, that's cool too. I love you guys. I appreciate you all hanging out. And like I said, we are going to see you on the Discord right after this. So God bless. Have yourselves a good night.